Our question for this week is, if a priest leaves out a certain part of a sacrament, does that sacrament still count? And the short answer is, it depends on what the priest left out of the sacrament he was celebrating. So first we'll define a sacrament. Sacrament is a specific spiritual reality set up by Jesus, designed to give us his presence, his grace, and then we communicate that grace by physical means. So as Catholics, we believe in 7 sacraments, and the question actually has to do with 2 of these sacraments. So the first question was, the first question I received about this was, if during the baptism ceremony, the priest leaves out the part where he puts the oil on the kid, does the sacrament still count? So in this case, the answer would be yes, because baptism is meant for us, as it says in Romans, it's meant for us to participate in Jesus' death and resurrection. As Romans 6 describes, in our baptism, we die with Christ and we rise with him to new life. And the way Jesus set that sacrament up, the essential part is to have water and say, I baptize you with Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So that formula, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and pouring of water is the essential part. Everything else, the other rites like the blessing of the white garments or the candle or the oil, if a priest were to leave that part out, the sacrament would still be valid. It would still count, but it would be what's called illicit. So illicit means not doing what the church designed it to have. So it was designed to communicate certain parts of our faith. If we leave that out, it would be illicit, but the sacrament would count. It would still be valid. So the same thing with the other question. The second question I had was about the sacrament of the Mass. So that sacrament was instituted by Jesus at the Last Supper. He said, do this in memory of me. The spiritual reality is that he is representing the sacrifice he made on the cross. This is my body. This is my blood. Present here, represented for us. So he told his apostles to do that in memory of him. So the physical reality is the bread and the wine, and the spiritual reality that comes about is when the priest repeats the words of Jesus. When the priest blesses the bread and wine, saying what Jesus told, asking the Holy Spirit to come upon those gifts. So if the priest left that part out, with the bread and the wine and the blessing of the bread and wine, then that Mass would be invalid. If there were other things that were left out, like in this specific question, the parishioner noted that the priest didn't wash his hands before blessing the bread and wine. That part, it would be once again an illicit part, because it wasn't designed, or the church designed, to have the washing of hands to remind us of the interior cleanliness of our soul in order to offer the sacrifice of Mass. But the sacrifice of Mass would still count. It would still be valid. So I hope that answers the question about if a priest leaves out a part during a sacrament. It depends what it is. So there are certain parts that mean that it's valid, that is necessary for the sacrament to count. Other parts, it's just needed to be licit, or to do everything that the church wanted to communicate in the sacrament. So thank you for the question. Thanks for watching. If you'd like more questions, you can hit on the subscribe button. God bless. Until next time.